That's right, folks. It's time for another wonderful edition of the O'Hara News and Editorial. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to roll right into this here. We are live. We are live, folks.
Yeah, for the first time in a while. It's been a little break we've had, and we really appreciate everybody's patience. But it's been a rough holidays for us, so we decided to take a little break. And we're glad to be back. Glad to be back with you, James.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to this year. It's going to be a good year.
It's going to be a good year.
Gonna drop a little bomb on everybody here. Look, as your AVFM radio director, when we made the move to Live 365, we thought, hey, this is great. Instead of broadcasting at 32, we're going to broadcast at 128. Sound quality is going to be better. But you know what? We sort of kicked ourselves in the ass when we realized we would no longer be able to provide the type of call queue that needs to be provided. So we're going to switch this up yet again pretty soon into another form of media, and we are hoping that by the end of the month we can bring to you AVFM radio on Google Hangouts. Okay? This means all your favorite shows continuing on with a little bit of camera work. Go figure. Or not. Depends on people's bandwidth. You might just see a picture flash on the screen whenever somebody talks. But hey, this will be a better move, a little bit on the cheaper side monetarily, and I am looking into ways of bringing us a call queue. So not only will we be able to provide you with quality audio and video, but we will also be able to stack you guys up like a bunch of sticks, waiting to hear our illustrious words in your ear. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on with a couple news stories. How's that sound?
Sounds good, James. Go and take it away.
Okay, well, this is coming from the community of the wrongly accused. Writer says, men have nothing to fear from new affirmative consent rape laws. Suggest they should just trust women's good faith. Oh, yeah. Susan Dwyer's painful-to-read non-defense of the new affirmative consent laws sweeping American colleges is a hit parade of hackneyed memes employed to masquerade hostility of due process for college men. Dwyer doesn't think that the whole due process thing is a valid concern. She posits that some people fear that the weaker evidentiary standard strips accused individuals of due process, leaving them unfairly vulnerable to reputational and professional harms, perhaps at the hands of vindictive women. But later, Dwyer makes clear that she doesn't think innocent men have any need to worry about such things. She suggests they should just trust women not to use the new law to harm them. Specifically, only a morally repulsive assumption about women's psychology would lead us to think that the policy increases the mendacity of those who report sexual assault, she clucks. This, of course, is merely another way of saying women don't lie about rape, even though some, too many women, do lie about rape or assume rape has occurred when it hasn't. The wrongly accused are just necessary collateral damage in the more important war on rape. It is irrefutable that a law that makes it easier to hold men responsible for rape will make it easier to hold the innocent responsible for purported offenses they didn't commit. Instead of dealing rationally with that valid concern, a concern incidentally increasingly shared by many important progressive thinkers, including 28 Harvard law professors, Dwyer does what feminist rape pundits routinely do. She casts aspersions on the goodwill of anyone who even dares to raise the question. They do this all the time. Dwyer's insanity is not worthy of serious refutation. Dwyer also applauds the fact that the new law shifts the burden of proving consent to the accused, claiming with no authority beyond her serene ipse dixit that this shift may encourage victims of sexual conduct to come forward. In fact, there's no evidence that this shift will change underreporting in any way. But it represents a dangerous sea change in the law. It makes the sex act, something performed countless times every day since the beginning of time the world over, a presumptive crime based on nothing more than an accusation. The prosecution/college need not prove the crime. All they need to do is present a woman to say it happened, and the burden then shifts to the accused. And if the man or boy does not carry his burden to prove that he obtained consent in the required manner, which no one can define, the accusation is alone is sufficient to convict. The concept of innocent until proven guilty has been kicked to the curb. The 70s feminist mantra, always believe the woman, has been given statutory articulation. Shifting the burden of proving consent is an idea long pushed by extremist victims advocates. Linda Brookover, Baroque's Defining Rape, said in 1989 that the ultimate objective of rape reform is shifting the burden of proof from the victim to the offender. Mainstream feminist extremist Jessica Valenti advocates that America look into Swedish law as its legislative model for rape, and activists and legal experts in Sweden want to change the law there, so the burden of proof is on the accused. The alleged rapist would have to show that he got consent instead of the victim having to prove that she didn't give it. Serious feminist scholars have written extensively on the subject in an effort to change the law. Criminal law professor and feminist Michelle Alexandra would make the sex act a presumed crime whenever a woman cries rape. See her works in Girls Gone Wild and Rape Law, revising the contractual concept of consent and ensuring an unbiased application of reasonable doubt when the victim is non-traditional. Holy crap. That's a long one. A long title. Written in 2009. Here's another one. Addressing Rape Reform in Law and Practice. Yep. Professor Susan Carangella of Western Michigan University's Sociology Department not only refused to pay lip service to ensuring that the innocent aren't punished with the guilty, she goes so far as to declare that men accused of rape are overprotected. She writes, "It's high time to give victims a fair shake, to dismantle the zealous overprotections for men accused of this crime, which have been buoyed up by the myths about false accusations, ulterior motives, and so on, commonly embraced when rape charges are levied." Professor Karen Gella advocates a shift in the burden of proof by enacting affirmative consent laws. Happily, the Washington Supreme Court recently reversed bad law that had shifted the burden of proving consent to the accused in that state's criminal courts. However, Dwyer makes clear she's hoping the affirmative consent law changes the conversation about sexual assault and dismantles wider cultural assumptions about gender roles in the bedroom. Now, this is code for dismantling and rebuilding masculinity. It is men's behavior Dwyer and the usual suspects seek to change because under the new law, Men will be branded as rapists when women resort to the passive bedroom behavior that women are taught from an early age and later decide to cry rape. The usual tripe. I want to thank the community of the wrongly accused for writing that up. I looked at it, thought it was absolutely wonderful. Hold on, folks. Hold on. That is earthquake number 3 in my area today. Robert?
You just had an earthquake? Are you serious?
Earthquake number 3. Earthquake fucking number 3 in my area today.
Well, you guys don't normally get earthquakes in Texas, do you?
The epicenter of most of these earthquakes has been very close to the Irving Stadium.
Really?
The new Irving Coliseum. They blew the last one up. And since they built the new one, and some people are wondering whether or not dun dun dun
the stadium is causing a fault to become active. But seriously, I mean, when was the last time you guys had
that doesn't sound plausible to me, because when you stand at the top of any tall building and you look out over the land, you go, holy crap, that's a lot of fucking dirt. You can't imagine a single little stadium blowing part of that up as being any of the problem. But yeah, we just had earthquake number 3 here in Irving, Texas.
When was the last time you had one?
Believe it or not, we've been having small tremors for quite some time now. But the 3 we've had so far today, the first one measured a 3.5.
Okay.
I imagine the second one measured close to that, and the one I just had under my feet as I was giving this report, thank you to the community of the wrongly accused, was probably maybe a 3.
Yeah, because we had 3 years ago, we had one here in D.C. It was the first one we had in 130 years, and it was a 5.8 on the Richter scale, so it was a pretty respectable earthquake. but yeah,
when was that?
Freaky,
when was that?
It was 3 years ago in August.
3 years ago.
In
2012.
Almost 3.5 years ago.
Boy, I bet a lot of people were bringing out their Mayan calendars that year.
Oh, man, it was crazy. It was really crazy. I mean, the Washington Monument almost fell down, and just, I mean, it was pretty whacked out.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the first ever.
So we've been having them here.
Wow, that's interesting. Anyway, but you're talking about the community wrongfully accused. Pierce Harlan, if you were listening, give me a call, send me an email. We want to get you on the show. I've been trying to get in touch with you for a long time now, and nothing would make me happier than to have you on the show. We're big fans of yours, and it would just be great to talk with you. If not on the show, just to interview you.
I mean, if it isn't obvious, because it seems like every other week I'm bringing up an article.
Yeah, feature one of his articles. It's because he's that good. I mean, they are that good. I understand he's a private guy, but come on, let's do an interview, man.
I'll give him my old Agent Orange voice.
Yeah, sure. Do it.
All right. Well, I
thought that Paul had him on one of his radio shows years ago.
Yeah?
Didn't he? Yeah, like a long time ago when Paul first started doing radio shows. I think he actually had him on.
I'd have to look through the archives.
Oh yeah, it was like God. It was 3 years ago. I think it was when Paul very first started doing radio shows. But I don't know. But anyway, Pierce, give me a call. Anyway, I'm sorry, James, didn't mean to interrupt. I just had to say something. Just do a shout out to.
Man, we're gonna let this show flow like water.
Good.
And this is what the purpose of the show is at this juncture. The year-end review. We're gonna have some treats for you guys. Okay. Coming out of CBS New York, mass transit to launch campaign aimed at curbing manspreading on public transit. God. Unbelievable, dude. It hit Toronto first, didn't it?
Right? Yeah, I did. And it's weird. And cafes saying, "Hey, look, this is really sexist that you guys are doing this." I mean, and they're just pointing it out. It's not like their biggest issue, of course, but they're simply pointing it out, and like everybody's just jumping on 'em saying, "Oh, what a stupid, silly men's rights activist group this is. All they're caring about is man spreading. Well, yeah, just put your balls underneath your ass and shut up." That's what they're saying, and they're just pointing out it's sexist. It's deliberately targeting men.
Well,
When the hell was this a huge problem? I mean, when did this become a big problem?
They're going to turn around and they're going to point the finger at Cafe when it was the fucking feminists.
Yeah.
You stupid fucking feminists. Who brought this up?
Mm-hmm. I mean, really, I'm really curious. I've never heard anybody mention this. No woman, nobody has mentioned this in small talk around me at any given time. Did I hear anybody say, "God, men spreading their legs all the time"? I've never seen a guy who was sitting next to an empty seat at a subway when someone else needed to sit down next to him. I've never seen a guy not, put his legs together, across his legs, or readjust his position. I've never seen. Has it ever been a problem? I haven't seen it. I mean, and the people like promoting this, what it is it's just a more freaking stupid anti-male bravado. That's all it is. And Cafe is absolutely right.
And
absolutely right to say that is sexist. And yeah, we oppose this because it's clearly sexist. It's stupid. Just more anti-male bravado. That's all it is.
And yet all this, and they refuse to bring up the 300-pound welfare queens whose asses are so large they take up 2 seats.
Or and I say, and I would never really complain about that, nor would I really ever really complain about when I see it's mostly women bringing dozens of bags with them on the metro train with them. I see it all the time.
Patriarchy makes me have all these bags.
Yeah, it's like I live right near Washington, the National Airport, or Reagan National Airport, and I go by it all the time, and you see airplane passengers getting on and off the metro all the time, and it's really convenient for people to have the metro system go right by the airport. It's a great airport to fly into, but every time I get on the train, usually when I see a guy, a 200-pound guy, he'll have like one suitcase with him, maybe a shoulder bag, and he will take up one space on the train. And then I'll see the 130-pound, girl coming in with a huge suitcase. A huge suitcase, a handbag, another shoulder bag, and maybe something else tied to the suitcase, and she takes up 2 seats because she has to. Now, do I complain about that?
He tells me I have to have all these clothes and equipment for my beauty standards.
Girls, because they're girls, just carry more stuff than guys do. All right, I understand that, but I don't care. You're a girl. That's fine with me. You like bringing your stuff with you. Girls like their stuff. Do I complain about it? No. It would be stupid to do so. As a matter of fact, it would be sexist to do so. Because here is this feature that females have. They like to carry their stuff with them. If I were to directly criticize this and say, "Hey, you're invading my space because you're taking a..." No, that would be... First of all, that would be just plain silly and stupid. Second of all, it would be sexist. So now we have these guys who, when they have the room, mind you, they'll spread out. Why? Because guys got their junk down there. If you had your entire reproductive system dangling in between your thighs, you'd spread them out too. It gets kind of uncomfortable.
Well, there's one other thing too, and you need to keep in mind that hip splay and angle is very different as well.
Sure, yeah. Men have broader shoulders and narrower hips, so they need to spread out their feet more, their knees when they sit down, because otherwise it's kind of uncomfortable to sit. And that's why guys do it. They don't do it to be hogs or anything like that. They do it because they're guys. That's all. I mean, it's silly, it's stupid, and yes, it is sexist, and I fully support Cafe's opposition to it. And you can call me silly all you want. It is sexist. It just is.
Well, let me go ahead and run over some of the fine details of the article here, okay? CBS 2's Vladimir Duthers reported the issue is now the focus of a new MTA campaign. Sitting in a crowded subway, each person is allotted 17.5 inches. But for some, that's simply not enough. Kelly Ray O'Donnell, a washed-up actress who's pining for any kind of attention, is the one who's sort of spearheading this. The anti-man-spreading activist, making stopping the spread a personal mission. She says,
"Man-spreading is when men take up too much room on the subway by spreading their legs in a wide V, like geese traveling." I guess you would call it subway shaming. It's what my friends accuse me of doing.
Oh, God. She is the one who 3 years ago started taking pictures of people, mostly men, spreading out and posting them on Twitter. She is the one who started this shit up.
I spend a lot of time commuting back and forth into Manhattan from Brooklyn,
she said.
And there was so much of it on these crowded trains that just started taking pictures, mostly because they wouldn't move for people or allow other people to sit down.
She says that it comes in many different forms, from the
hard day at work man spread
to the
multi-man spreaders,
and even the
I'm giving my reindeer a rest man spread.
What does she mean by the man spreaders? Like the guys that hang out and travel in pairs, and they take up 3 or 4 seats. She's talking
like a dancing line, like a chorus line of men sitting there with their legs all spread. I mean, are they interlocked? I mean,
what about the cooling?
They kick their legs up.
I'm just talking about I'm cooling my reindeer spreaders. What the heck is that?
I have no idea. I'm giving my reindeer a rest. Let me just throw my antler down the length of my leg, right? Is that what she's saying?
Yeah, what's on her mind? What is she thinking about there?
Oh my God, it's a penis.
It's a reindeer.
Oh, Santa coming?
Chimney tonight.
Oh God!
It's strange, sometimes these people write shit and it just betrays what they're thinking. It's just crazy. It's crazy, James. Say.
Oh my God! Okay, so entire blogs are now dedicated to pointing out egregious seating. I love the way the reporting is done here. I really do. Including one where cats are superimposed between men's wide open stances. That must be a Futrell thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. His vicious attack cats.
So, what's the punishment they're going to met out for this? Are they going to start giving guys tickets for this, or what? I have no idea. I don't see anything.
Is it going to be those things where exposed man spreading, take a picture?
Pretty much. So they're asking men to mind the gap by putting up posters reminding riders to be more considerate of others. Yeah. And all I got to say is that the next time I go into public transit up in New York, I promise you motherfuckers, I will have mastered the Jean-Claude Van Damme leg spread, and I'm going to do it in the middle of the fucking subway.
Do it. The ultimate man spreader.
The ultimate man spreader. Absolutely. I will do it in Speedos. Just to be an asshole. And I will carry my cat with me.
Yeah. You pet your kitty while you spread your man legs.
Would you like to pet my pussy? God. This is what feminism is fighting.
Yeah.
This important issue
Man spreading.
is what feminism is all about. And by God, we are going to show you guys tonight exactly what you get for your buck when you are a feminist. Because we're not going to talk about women getting beaten and raped in faraway countries under tyrannical rule. We're not going to talk about the undereducation of women in some of these countries, although we know some of that's bullshit. We're not going to talk about any of those things. No, we're going to focus in on some of the worst that feminism has to offer, which is feminism. For the year of 2014.
We do the next half of the show is going to be a really good thing. We're going to do 2 lists. We're going to do 5 major feminist fails and 5 major MRM victories for 2014. Yep. And we know there have been some good ones, don't we?
Oh my God, dude!
And these are things. These are things that I just pulled out of my head this afternoon when I was thinking about things to do for the show. And I really, really want to get some callers tonight because it was such a big year this year. And there were so many people involved. And, hopefully some people are listening tonight that were, we definitely want people to come and share their thoughts about this, what I think that most would agree, a very, very special year for men's rights.
The level of importance of some of these first world problems.
Yeah.
That feminists are screaming about, screeching about in their shrill voices at the top of their lungs is just amazing.
Amazing, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so are we done with the news stories, James?
Well, there is one other thing I did want to touch on.
Sure, go ahead.
This was sent to me like just a few minutes before the show. As a matter of fact, this Dev Boot Camp at devbootcamp.com. What they do is they've got these training sessions that they bring people into, and they can provide scholarships and stuff like that to teach people how to code effectively. It's the 9 to 15 week immersive program. So, I'm going to read this since they have these scholarships here. I'll read this verbatim. Scholarships. We offer a $500 scholarship for the following groups. Veterans. I'll take that first. I don't have a problem with veterans. Not just because I'm a veteran, but because of the fact that veterans do something. You don't necessarily have to agree with what they do, but they do something. Okay? Next bullet point. Anyone who identifies as female or non-male. Okay.
Yeah, as long as you're not a man.
As long as you're not a man. Next bullet point. And you think to yourself, okay, well, maybe this bullet point has something about sexuality. Nope. They go on to say anyone who identifies as an ethnic minority group underrepresented in tech. African American, Chicano, Latino, Native American, Pacific Islander. So, okay. So the very first bullet point, veterans, I'll tell you, that's a catch right there, because any employment agency out there who is looking for developers, up to and including government positions, you sort of get extra points for being a veteran. So of course,
as you should, yes.
That being a demographic, they're going to want to have that. But I promise you, that the last two bullet points are not based off of a doing, they're based off of a being. And I brought this up in the chat. I could see giving a scholarship to dick-sucking whores. I don't have a problem with that. If somebody wants to give out a scholarship to dick-sucking whores, that's fine. You know why? Because they're getting a scholarship for doing some dick-sucking. Just like veterans are getting a scholarship for doing some soldiering. However, giving out scholarships for being one thing or another, such as a female or an ethnic or minority group, okay, that's not based on a doing. And here we go. They say right off the bat, underneath those 3 bullet points, we do not offer merit-based scholarships, as we operate under the principle that anyone can learn to code if given the means and opportunity to do so. Because of this, we don't reward anyone for being further along in the process than others. That's making some assumptions there. But the very idea that they refuse merit-based scholarships shows you how these fucking social justice warriors think. You remember the GitHub debacle, right, Robert?
Right, yes, I do.
Okay, for anybody who doesn't know, GitHub used to have a great big old rug in their front area that had emeritus or something like that on it. And basically said, earn shit by merit, right? Well, all the fucking feminists came along and screamed and ranted and raved and said,
"Oh, that's horrible because that's still holding up a patriarchal standard."
and GitHub got rid of the fucking thing.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll just because they got mad, we'll get rid of it.
These people do not want to earn shit. They want it given to them. They want it given to them based upon what they are, not what they do.
Well, there's another dimension to this. I was thinking about this when you showed that to me, James. They were showing all the different financial devices that these folks could use for borrowing money. And at first you wonder, okay, why would any bank want to lend money for getting something not based on merit, but basically on what they are? It seems very counterintuitive. But if you think about the way banking works nowadays, what they do is they loan money to people they know can't pay it off, or who they have a hunch have a hard time paying it off, so they can keep them in debt slavery for longer and make more money off the principal than they would otherwise. That's how banking works nowadays.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that's why you see a lot of these campaigns that are not based on merit, these initiatives, they're so well funded by banks. That's the reason why.
Right.
So it's a double whammy there. I mean, it really is diabolical. It really is evil when you think about it.
Yep.
There are some people who, if you do not have, it used to be where you had to have merit to get a loan. You know, it was a hard thing to maintain a good credit rating, and there was a reason for that, and there were laws for that, and the reason the laws were there were just to protect the banks. They were there to protect the people asking for the loans, because when you do away with those rules, and I'm talking about the Glass-Steagall Act here for anybody who knows anything about banking history in this country. When you do away with those rules, what you do is you open up the way for legal loan sharking, which is what we have in this country right now. It's crazy, and this started with the whole everybody deserves a mortgage revolution. It was diabolical to begin with, and now these people, they run our Federal Reserve. I mean, that's what I thought when I saw that, James. I was like, oh, look at all these financiers lining up to help finance these people's boot camp experience. People who aren't there by merit or by ability, but they're there because they are who they are. that's dangerous for those people. I think you see this a lot. You certainly see it a lot in education now. Education costs a lot of money nowadays, and it's because it's not because it's gotten any better. It hasn't. It's because there are more administrators per student than there ever has been before. And that's mostly because it's just huge bureaucracy, much of which is feminist bureaucracy, Title IX bureaucracy, that students have to pay for. They have to pay these people's salaries, and I think these people go hand in hand with the banks. I think they're in cahoots with the banks to put people in wage slavery for the rest of their lives. You go to school and then you get a degree in psychology or sociology or communications or whatever, some easy degree that you could never hope to make enough money to pay back your $200,000 debt. Well, you're going to be a slave for the rest of your life to these banks. That's what they want. It's crazy. That's what I was thinking when I saw that, James. So, I know it's a bit off topic, but do you sort of see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. I can't disagree with any of what you're saying. Yeah. But I don't think that these people would give a damn about the economics of it. I think
no,
they are social justice.
They don't. They're social justice.
This is something that appears to be run by a collection of ID10T social justice warriors.
Sure, but it's financed by a bunch of very cynical bankers who are saying, hey, look at these stupid social justice warriors. They can get more victims for us. And we'll make it nice for them. We'll make sure that they have plenty of students getting money going into their coffers. It's a match made in heaven, James. Match made in heaven.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Unreal. I did want to bring that up. I did want to mention that.
Yeah.
Thought it was pretty damn important.
It is.
Keep an eye out for other things like this, because you're going to see a lot more of this non-merit-based scholarship come up. You're going to see more and more of it as time goes on. I mean, Title IX, that should tell you everything there, but that's the government, and we can always expect the government to fuck it up. Tell me the last time they haven't.
Yeah.
But we're going to see a lot more private institutions funded by a lot more of these social justice warrior types. We're going to close the doors to everybody except for their favorite oppressed people. And that is not the siscum shitlord white heteronormative patriarchal toxic men that are out there. Right?
Right.
All right. Well, it's your turn. What have you got?
Well, actually, what I would like to do is see if we can go to a music break and then spend the rest of the show going over the list I have compiled for biggest feminist fails of 2014 and biggest MHRM successes in 2014, and encourage callers to call in with what they think are the very best successes of the MHRM and the very worst failures of feminism in 2014. If you could shout out the phone number, if you could.
Yeah, give me just a second here. Hold on. Oh, that's right. I have it in my own thing.
Yeah, I know. I do the same thing, Jim.
214-272-0408. I'm going to put that out again. If you guys want to come on and shoot the shit about what we're going to talk about on the list, it's 214-272-0408. And on to some music. This music is by Kevin MacLeod. Thank you very much for your fine work.
And we're back with the O'Hara News and Editorial with our very, very special show, the 2014 year in review. We did this last year. It was a lot of fun. We had some great callers in. But of course, this year, 2014, was so much bigger than last year. And I think, and many people would agree, that it was really the biggest the biggest year for men's rights activism ever. We really were put on the map in 2014. Of course, we were getting feelers out in 2013. That was a good year too. But 2014, we knew at the beginning of the year that was going to be a make or break year for us. And we were very optimistic. And with good reason, because I think in many ways our expectations were I mean, we succeeded beyond our expectations. We exceeded our expectations. I really do believe that in so many ways, and for so many different reasons.
And feminists failed beyond their expectations.
Yeah, this is the year of the feminist black eye.
In fact, feminists failed so badly that other feminists went, "Oh no, we're doing what? Really? Oh." This is going to make us look bad. We can't do that.
I just thought of one major feminist fail in 2014 that I didn't put on the list I'm going to mention, okay? This is going to bring the feminist fails to 6. Okay, but I'm going to mention it anyway because it was so good. It was so sweet. Anyway, we don't have any callers just yet, right?
No. In fact,
you
will know immediately when we have a caller, since we don't have a call queue.
Right.
If you call in, folks, you're just coming on the air.
Okay, great. Well, listen, I want to tell people again that there's so much that happened this year, and I know so many people have so many different experiences, and so many people have different things they care about. And this is a list that I myself just made up. This wasn't done by committee or voting or anything like that. This is something I just made up, so I really, really want people to call in. So if you could, call in at 214-272-0408. Again, that's 214-272-0408. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with the list here. And these were, in my opinion, the biggest feminist fails in 2014. I had 5, but I just thought of a 6th one, which I will put in there. First one, these are not necessarily in chronological order or in an order of importance. They're just basically a train of thought as they came out. But the first thing I thought of when I thought of feminist fails in 2014 was the Ban Bossy campaign failing miserably. Everybody remembers that. This is something that happened early in the year, and this is something that feminists spent millions of dollars on, and they got some of the heavyweights in there. They got the woman who's the CEO for Facebook. She was the one that did all that.
Beyonce.
Beyonce. They got all kinds of like celebrities and politicians. I mean, they just pulled out the stops to ban the word bossy. They pulled out the stops to ban a word, a useful word that describes a certain personality trait. And they expose themselves as the numb-minded, censorship-obsessed people that they are.
In fact, I would go so far as to say that they exposed themselves as bossy.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly, and that was the biggest criticism. They said, "Well, what you're doing is kind of bossy when you're going to ban a word. That's kind of bossy, isn't it?" And it just gave so many detractors so much ammunition to work with, and that's why it failed so badly. So not only did it expose them for the, like I said, the censorship obsessed people that they are, it exposed them for the absolute morons they are. The absolute morons that they are. This is the one thing that exposed the level of stupidity amongst feminists more than anything else. That, well, God, you know what? That we may think something else.
This is
year.
Look, hey,
I don't want to say that.
And hold on, and I must say that the other 5 things that we're going to bring up on the list do nothing less than expose the same thing.
Of course.
But ban bossy.
That
That
kicked
holds
off
a-
the year right.
That holds a
Like,
special place in my heart.
uh-huh.
It really does. Maybe
Okay.
it's my cockles or my subcockles, or perhaps in my colon.
Sweet, the sensations you have down there, James. I love it when you talk about them.
I'm such an asshole.
Gets me all hot and bothered. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, I want to go on to the next one. This is a big one too. This is the whole Gamergate thing. When Gamergate got Intel to withdraw ads from Gawker, making Gawker lose a lot of money. This was a huge feminist fail. This was not an MHRM thing. This is totally a Gamergate thing. It's not the same thing.
No, it's not.
But this was really a real blow to feminism because again, feminists pulled out the stops to try to co-opt the gaming industry. They failed. They failed miserably. They threw all kinds of dirt around at everybody. I mean, they did everything they could, and they failed. And Intel said, well, we're just going to pull our ads from this Gawker people because and I can't help but think that not only was the outcry so big, but there's some pretty smart people that work at Intel, and they don't need Gawker's ad space. Okay, there are a lot of people other than gamers that buy Intel products, but they basically said, I can't help but think that somebody on their in their marketing team or some marketing exec said, you know what? These Gamergate folks are right. This is really stupid. Let's just not give these people our money. And it worked. And it was a huge blow to feminism this year. I really believe it was one of the bigger blows to feminism this year is when a group of people.
Look, I would go so far as to classify this even further. I don't think it was just a blow against feminism. I think it was a blow against the whole idea of these fucked up social justice warriors.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because Gawker has Jezebel. They've got Kotaku. They've got a whole bunch of other crazy, fucked up social justice warrior type websites that they advertise with. And Gamergate happened. They lost Intel. I think they also lost Adobe, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They lost another
Holy crap, man. I mean, think about this. This is Adobe.
This is so cool. This was a completely grassroots movement that totally spontaneously grew instantaneously into a huge thing in response to social justice co-option of their industry. This is a group of people who, without any money, without anything, and in face of tremendous slander and calumny, said, no, I'm not a misogynist. I'm not an asshole. I'm not a loser. I'm just a person who likes to play games. And I don't like people talking about me like this. Oh, and by the way, who is this Zoe Quinn girl screwing people that she's writing about? Is that ethical? No, I don't.
No,
you know what?
Who's,
I don't.
No. The other way around. The people writing about her.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't do much writing. She developed a shitty ass game.
She developed a terrible game.
I played that game.
I looked at it too. It was like, this is a game. This is the worst waste of time ever.
I had to play that motherfucker just to see, and I'm telling you, Depression Quest was one of the largest pieces of shit I think I have ever had come across my computer screen.
It was a freaking slideshow presentation that had a decision flowchart built in. Basically, is all.
Yes, that's all it was. I would rather sit down and play Zork.
A freaking average C student 8th grader could have designed that game. I think.
Yeah,
I mean, for real. Yeah. For real. Someone with no programming skills.
And this is exactly the type of shit that you can learn to make if you go to this non-merit-based devbootcamp.com and pay upwards of $13,000 for a 9 to 15 week course, you can come out and program just like Zoe Quinn.
Yeah, and guess what? The money will be there for you because of all these wonderful, nice bankers who believe in social justice.
Absolutely.
They just got the scam down, man. They just got it down.
Yeah, they got it. They got it.
They are totally about exploiting the people they say they are trying to help. It's totally what it is, man. It's totally what it is. Anyway, it's just I think the whole game, like much like the atheism plus thing the year before. I really admire these people. I really admire these people who aren't men's rights activists, don't identify as such, but they see feminism, they see social justice warriors coming into their movements, which they care about, and they call them out on their bullshit, and they stop them in their tracks, and they do so at great personal expense to themselves. They're brave people, and even though they're lied about, even though we got these people like Anita Sarkeesian just doing all kinds of stupid, messed up things, telling lies. To try to continue on with this juggernaut, this social justice juggernaut, which is basically all about marketing and money. That's what it's all about when it comes down to, and opportunism, publicizing
and look, you're gonna see more of this come up in the future.
Sure.
Look, guys, I don't usually plug on the show, but Mundane Matt he's put out a lot of great videos on Gamergate. And Internet Aristocrat, before he went down and said, "Oh, I'm done with all this," before he went down, he had put out some good stuff on Gamergate. But Mundane Matt is a pretty good source for whatever you need concerning Gamergate. Go check out his channel on YouTube. You'll learn a lot. And this isn't a men's rights movement thing or an MRA thing, but I'm telling you, Gamergate has struck a terrific blow for common sense. Common fucking sense. And common fucking decency on top of that, folks. If you want to talk about ethics and journalism, well, there you go. That's the front line of ethics and journalism as it stands right now. Go look at Mundane Matt's stuff. And, there we go. You there, Robert? Oh, no.
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm sorry about that. I just had my microphone muted. The next thing I want to talk about, the biggest feminist fail in 2014 was when a Indian-based feminist group published a study confirming that nearly, if not just about, 50% of all accusations of sexual assault were indeed false. And they published it.
50%.
Yes. Did you remember that?
Yes, I do.
They published it,
yes,
and they
I
put
do.
it out, and we reported on it, and it validated and confirmed everything men's rights activists were saying in the Western world for a very long time. And it must have happened completely under the noses of feminists in the Western world and unbeknownst to them. Well, it wasn't under their noses, it was on the other side of the planet, but it was done by so-called fellow feminists. But they published it anyway. So now, this was a huge feminist fail. This was a huge, huge blunder. Because now, any person, whether they be an MRA or whomever, can say, you know what, there's more than ample evidence to suggest, and there have been studies that confirm this, that a great number of accusations of sexual assault are just plain flat out false, or plain flat out they're lies. And when all those studies, they've been debunked and all this and that, and that's all a bunch of bullcrap. Well, guess what? There was this feminist study that was done in India, and it has feminists written all over it, and they released it. What do you say about that? They can't do that anymore. They can't. So, since that time, I've seen, and really I think this was in March or April or something like that. Since that time, you have not heard a whole lot from feminists about. I mean, of course, there's always like this underlying background noise about, oh, these people saying that there's a lot of false accusations, but you don't hear this assertion that a lot of claims of sexual assault are false. You do not hear the same energetic opposition to that since then. Feminists seem to shy away from that a lot more than they did before, as they have done the 1 in 5 statistic, because so many people have just debunked that, including the actual writers of the study who actually said this is not representative of college students everywhere. It's just they are starting to backtrack because they know that the public is starting to become aware of their bullshit. And I think that they themselves have always known that what they talk about is complete bullshit. But now they just can't bullshit like they used to anymore. But this is a huge blunder. I mean, this was huge. And it wasn't really picked up anywhere here in the press here, except amongst men's rights circles. You saw it was all over men's rights Reddit. And, we put up something about it. And I don't think – who did a video about it? I know a couple guys did. I think Bane666 did it. And some other people did. But it was just it didn't make huge news here, but I believe this was a huge, big feminist fail. And this was one of those things where that feminists everywhere here in the U.S. were just going, oh, my God, I can't believe they published that survey. And that they were on the phone right away saying, hey, sister, if you still want money, if you still want USAID money coming your way, you better never talk about this study again. I know that phone call happened. I just know it did. But this was a huge feminist fail. Maybe we won't get any callers about that, but in my opinion, it was a big one. Okay, going on to the next one. Not as big, but something that I thought that was a pretty big deal. It was in the media everywhere. This was pretty recent. Was the shirt storm, when the director of the Rosetta project, this was the mission to land a wash disher sized probe on a comet orbiting around the sun. So let's think about the enormity of the task here. We're going to shoot off a rocket from the surface of the planet Earth. It is going to achieve escape velocity. Then it must intersect with a comet that is going even faster than escape velocity. It's like somewhere around 40,000 miles an hour. It will intersect with its orbit. It will release a probe, and the probe will land on this comet, which has a gravitational field that's minuscule. I mean, you could literally, if you were lying face down on this comet and you sneezed, you would literally go into orbit around this comet. That's how small the gravitational force is on this comet. And they actually succeeded in landing on this comet and affixing this object on this comet to do scientific research. This was an achievement which was, it truly rivaled the moon landing. The complexity and the instrumentation involved, and the director of this project wore this shirt that was made by a very close female friend of his. It was a very close friend of close friend of his wife, and also a very, very close friend of his, who happened to make T-shirts that she sold. And she did this for a living. It was a really cool T-shirt. There were garish-looking, scantily clad female characters on it. It was really a cool T-shirt. And the guy had cool tattoos, and he just screamed like, "Hey, I'm not some weird square guy with a slide rule in my pocket. I'm a scientist." It was just a great. I thought when he did that, it was a great cultural statement about high achieving people and how about sure they're not like us. They're zany. They're really weird. If you know anybody who's a scientist, and I know quite a few, they are zany weird people, and they're not like us, and they're wonderful. And they should be celebrated as such. But this guy, he was brought to tears just days later after the great achievement of his life. And it seemed that everybody got it except him. If he had stood up and said, "Screw all of you. This is my friend's shirt. She gave it to me. I'm wearing it as a special occasion. I don't care." I'm sure that the guy who had been lauded as a hero, but he didn't get that. But everyone else did, because what this did was this showed feminism. Again, much like the Ban Bossy campaign, as being a censorship obsessed movement that does not want people to express themselves, doesn't want people to be happy with, doesn't want people to wear whatever they want to wear, basically. And this is one of those events, and we're going to talk about them more here in a little bit. This is one of those events that happened this year that really, really showed feminism for what it was. It really did. It was in so many ways. It was such a huge event, and so many people saw what happened, and so many people saw how stupid and ridiculous it was. And it really, really, it was one of those things where feminists thought they did something great and they won this great massive victory, but no, it wasn't. It was a huge, huge blunder, which will forever stain the word feminism forever. Because guess what? This achievement of landing a probe on a comet for the first time, that will last forever. People will remember that forever, but they will not. If they do remember feminism at all forever, they're going to remember it for what they did to this poor guy who actually succeeded in landing this probe on this comet. That's why I think it's a huge blunder. One of the biggest blunders in 2014, if not one of their biggest blunders. I mean, what do you think about that analysis, James? Do you think that's accurate?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
I mean, because for a long time, this is always going to be remembered as a great scientific first, an achievement. Wow, we actually succeeded in landing a probe on a comet, and we're going to learn all kinds of things about the beginning of the solar system.
If I'm not mistaken, we've got a slight echo here, Robert.
Okay, how bad is it?
Let's see here.
Getting better, getting worse?
Yeah.
Can we live with it for now?
Yeah, I think we can live with it for now. Okay. But if I'm not mistaken, we actually did fire another probe into a comet, but it never made a landing. It just impacted.
Yeah,
I remember
what it did is it got into the tail of the comet, collected comet dust, and then brought it back to Earth for analysis.
That's what it did. Okay.
Which was an achievement, but it was something that was well within the technological bounds of the time. This particular thing was a real technical task. And we have this probe that's sitting on this comet that's going to be giving us data about the comet, about its trajectory, about its temperature, about the gases being emitted from it, about the changes in chemistry throughout its orbit, all kinds of things. And this is important. This is the thing about comets.
Have they managed to successfully move the thing into a more sunlit area?
I think the thing actually rotates, so it goes in and out of sunlight. That's what I think. But I think one of the things they're hoping to find out is as it goes closer to the sun, of course, the temperature is going to rise, more gas is going to be emitted, the chemistry is going to change, or they're just going to find out what happens. But here's the thing about comets. Comets have been around since the beginning of the solar system. They can tell us things about how our solar system formed that no other bodies can tell us. And now we have a probe on one. Like, it's sitting on there right now. It's sending back data right now.
That is so phallic, dude.
Yeah, that's right.
Need to stop referring to these things as probes.
That's the other thing. The comet it's reminiscent of the sperm, which is the ultimate symbol of the patriarchy.
All the radical feminists are going to see as a great big dick.
Or a great big wad of something flying.
Oh my God! They impregnated the comet with the probe.
But it's just, I mean, the thing is that this achievement is going to be remembered forever, and along with it is going to be remembered how these silly, stupid people maligned and publicly shamed the guy who made it all possible by wearing a shirt. This is a huge feminist fail. This will follow feminists forever. This will make them this will make feminists laughing stocks forever. I mean, it seems insignificant. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, what, Bob? What are you talking about? Seriously? Are they making it?" No, really, it's that big. I think it's a big deal. So, anyway.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but I went a little bit off on that one. Anyway, it's because I'm kind of a science geek myself. Anyway, on to the other feminist fail, the next feminist fail of 2014. This will be number 5. This will be 5 of 6.
Oh,
Because
hold
I'm just
on.
not
Hold on a
realistic.
second. We have a caller.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, imagine that.
Ooh.
Oh, we had a caller.
Call back.
Let me see if I can bring caller back here. Oh, I hear the ringing. Hello.
Hey.
Hey, this
What's up?
must be Iron John.
John.
Yeah, it sure is. Hey, how
Awesome.
you guys doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New
How
Year
you
to you
doing?
too.
Nice to hear your
Did
voice.
you have something to add on our previous topic there?
Yeah, with the feminist fails from 2014, there was one really big one. I'm surprised you guys didn't point out that I wanted to share.
We haven't put them all out yet.
It's okay. We there were 2 more. If he brings up one of the other 2, that's fine. We'll talk about that with him. So it's all right.
Okay, well, the biggest feminist fail this year that I've noticed, and I'm not sure if many other people have noticed, but it seemed pretty obvious to me, is that in the past, prior to this year, there was the automatic defense from the public of feminists who were saying, look, feminism is a good thing. They're trying to help women. They're trying to help girls. You guys are being too hard on them. You should just let them continue in this noble enterprise. And this year, I didn't really notice that.
Well,
So the feminist failure was their failure to maintain the public support that they had in the past.
They have lost control, and I was going to touch on this with some of the points I was going to bring up, but you're absolutely right. They have failed to maintain their iron-fisted control of the narrative concerning all things gender. They have failed this year. It's the first year that they've utterly failed. They were challenged last, but this year they failed. There's no doubt about it. The general public is now aware that they're full of shit. And I'm going to talk about this with some other things here, but you're absolutely right.
They realize it enough, and John, we can hear you breathing in the phone there.
But
they realize it. They realize it enough, as a matter of fact, that I think this year we saw a lot of people who are normally in the spotlight suddenly say, "I'm not a feminist."
Yep.
And then go, "Oh God, I'm sorry, I said I'm not a feminist."
Yeah. Further exposing how screwed up feminism is that they just love to bully people into complying with their stupid ideology. So it's like a double whammy for feminists, being that every time they say something, they just show how stupid they are.
Hey,
and you're absolutely right, John. It's like for the first time the zeitgeist is no longer iron-fisted anymore. People are now openly free to criticize feminism if they want to, and they have an audience now for that. And I think that the MHRM has a lot to do with that. I think
John,
that
Iron John, we are going to have to let you go. We do have another caller coming on, okay?
But stick around, call
sure.
back in. Yeah, call back in, or we might bring it back in. Can we do that later on, maybe?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Yeah, definitely
Caller,
stick around.
welcome to the show.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you just fine.
Who's this?
That's great. You know, the Skype is down today. It's not going through, and so I'm using my landline.
Okay,
Oh,
cool.
imagine that. That's
yeah,
why.
so I'm not going to talk too long because it's costing.
Okay,
Yeah.
is
Hey,
this
Bob,
Sandwich
this
High
is Pine Tree anyway. How
Pine
you
Tree.
doing?
Okay, yeah, Pine Tree. How you doing, man?
Hey, man, great. I've been, I had a really hectic year. I've been, just so busy with certain things, and so I haven't been able to call in as much. But look, I just want to say thank you so much for your show. I mean, you guys are lifesavers. I know, just thank you, okay? Now, as far as the activities, I have a little bit of a different opinion, okay? I think that feminism actually, for 2014, they actually did quite a bit this year. They had a lot of things happening. The only thing, though, that I found was a little bit troubling, was that they went very extreme, okay, in a lot of the things that they did. And I think like things like the rape culture went totally absurd. With that girl walking around New York and having, I think she got more laughed at, even though she had a huge amount of publicity. You also had the prostitution laws in Canada and France, where it was, they made it legal to sell but illegal to buy. So I'm just saying that there was quite a bit of feminist activity, but a lot of it was absurd. Right?
Yes, and let me touch on that for one moment. Okay, I had some pretty interesting intellectual discussions with Fiedelbogen when I first decided to move forward as a men's rights activist. And I sat down and I spoke with him. And it wasn't long before, we had decided to pull together on the Agent Orange files. And, he and I were sitting down looking at what these people were saying. And we said, look, at some point, this stuff is going to have to come closer to the mainstream consciousness. Not so much because we are pushing it out there, even though we are, but because as we begin, sort of collectively as non-feminists, to push back and say, all your fluffy rhetoric is stupid, it forces them to draw into the core or the root of what it is feminism is really about and begin to expose it directly. They are going to be forced to come out of their hives in response to our repeated assertions of truth, and they are going to have to meet us. They cannot just melt away. They are radical for a reason. Okay? We are pushing aside all the fluffy feminists. That's what I call them. The leaves of the tree. The leaves of the tree are easy to push aside. We are exposing the roots, and those roots are doing their very fucking best to stay rooted.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd like to add on one thing before you go. Is like, I think a lot of those crazy things that you saw feminists do this year, the over the top things, I think they were done out of desperation, because these people have to be aware that they're really engaged in a battle now for their future, and that they might lose, and they very well might lose if things continue to go the way they're going. But go ahead, Pine Tree. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay, great. I think you guys said it very well. But I just want to add that I think although a lot of things feminists did do quite a bit, a lot of them were extreme, and I think that it really is polarizing things. And I think that that all these extremities have got people like really pissed off, really angry, and I have a feeling that there's going to be, maybe this year, could be next year, there's going to be one event that's going to trigger something really massive, and a lot of there's going to be a very strong backlash. And I think although feminism did all this, they were very active this year, and they did I think they went a big extreme. I think overall it was good that happened, because I think it's really creating the polarization. I mean, just look on the forums. I mean, people are just expressing a lot of frustration, and I think something's going to happen. Like one particular event is going to happen somewhere throughout the world, where it's going to trigger off like a wave, a huge tidal wave, and so I think this polarization is going to take place. So,
look, you can't have a battle. You can't have a battle without having soldiers on the battlefield. You have to polarize the battlefield in order for the fight to take place. The fact of the matter is that the feminists for the last 60 years have been running on the good graces of people saying, oh, they're okay, without ever actually taking a look at the consequences of feminist ideology. Okay? Our job has never been really to fight the battles, at least up until recently. Our job has never really been to fight the battles as activists. Our job has been to polarize the battlefield by providing the public with the information that they need in order to make an informed decision based on objective reality. That is where the sweeping wave, I think, comes from. And yeah, I mean, the feminists tooting their horn.
Well, yeah,
from
feminist
time to time.
propaganda does the same thing. They're into polarizing too. But they do it a different way, through propaganda, through misinformation, through lying, through half truths. But your prophecy, Pine Tree, I think that you might be right. I think I don't think that's outlandish at all to think that because we're actually at a point of tension right now we haven't been at before, and it's hit the mainstream. It has hit the mainstream in a big way, bigger than it ever has before. That there might be an event. Let's hope that it's nothing serious. Let's hope nothing. I mean, let's pray that nobody gets hurt. That's not what we're about. Certainly, I don't know about our opponents, but I think you might be right. I think there's a good chance that something will happen within the next 12 months that will be if not a defining moment, an exposing moment, but one that will really make people actually stand up and take note. Because, if for no other reason, because tensions are higher now on both sides than they ever have. They're more polarized now than they ever have before. People
the tensions are very high. I mean, you look what happened to Bill Cosby, what happened to John Gomesky. Look what's happening at Dalhousie University in Halifax. You heard about the dentist? What's going on, right?
Tell us again. I do remember something about it. Please fill us in.
Well, this is huge in Canada. Canada's a messed up country, but I think.
I remember this. Okay, go ahead. Please tell us though. I remember what you're talking about, but go ahead.
Yeah, in Dalhousie University, a few dentists, made on Facebook certain comments about rape culture and
jocular comments or messing around.
It just went, holy shit, man! It went over. I mean, the protests that occurred, and they're trying to get these people who made a few comments on Facebook now disbarred from the profession of dentistry.
It's a witch hunt. It's a witch hunt. That's what it is.
It's a witch hunt, man. That's exactly what it is. It's a psychotic witch hunt is going on. And so, yeah, I think it's really polarizing, and it's going to push people over the limits, and something's going to happen. Anyway, guys, I got to save my money on the phone bill. It was great talking to you. I hear you guys all the time. I'll talk to you again, okay? All the best.
Great, Pine Tree. Keep in touch, man. Thanks a lot for calling in.
All right.
As always. Happy New Year. Great. Always nice hearing from Pine Tree.
Wow, yeah.
Okay, I was going to go with, and he was talking about polarizing events. The next Feminist Fail of 2014 was, of course, the Time Magazine poll. Every year, Time Magazine does this poll asking readers what word they think. This is a joke they started several years ago. I don't know how long ago, but it's been kind of a popular feature of the magazine at the end of the year. Every year they poll readers asking what word should be banned next year. Because, journalists are word people, and they like asking interesting questions. Like, if you could ban one word, what would it be? And the genius who made up the list, I don't think we'll ever know their name. They may have been fired by now, but they actually put the word feminism in there. And first of all, it was very curious that they would put the word feminism in there. It would be inconceivable even a year ago that they would put that word in there as a list of possible words to possibly be banned the next year. But it very quickly became the most voted on word to be banned the next year. It was so actually... but at the time it was taken off, and I had people telling me this, I didn't see what the final tally was, but it was well over 50%. There's like 60%, 60% of the people said that 70 even said that was where they wanted.
And the feminists really tried to say that all those votes were coming in from 4chan.
No. What it was, this is what happened is and this goes down to the feminist desperation. what happens is feminists are realizing that their movement, their ideology, is starting to become quite unpopular. And what do? They bully the editors of Time magazine to remove the poll, to remove that word from the poll, and force them to apologize, thus making them look even more stupid and radical and bullying. That's what they do. They, again, another instance where they just, by trying to control the narrative, they make themselves look worse than they did before.
Anybody seen The History of the World with Mel Brooks?
I haven't seen that movie.
Yes.
You haven't seen that movie?
In years.
I have to do this. Okay. I have to do this because this describes feminism. The Inquisition. What a show. The Inquisition. Here we go. We know you're wishing that we'd go away. But the Inquisition's here and it's here to stay.
That was sweet, James. That was awesome, man. That was so cool. We need to get a clip of that and play it for the next show.
Yeah.
Every time we bring up a news story that has like something where it has like feminist censorship or when they bully somebody into apologizing or something like that, we need to play a clip of that song. The Inquisition, what a show. Dude, we definitely have to play that clip. Totally. But it's true. I mean, it's like this, again, another instance where like clearly it was shown that feminism is losing its popularity, it's losing its grip. What do these feminists do? They act in desperation, they act brutally, they engage in incredible bullying, but this is the thing. I'm waiting for somebody, whether it be a celebrity who says I don't identify as a feminist and then gets all the shit hurled at him, or an editor of a newspaper who says, listen, we had this article that criticized feminism and now you're telling me to pull it. I'm waiting for one of these people, whether it be, celebrity or editor, whomever, or news director or whatever, to say, wait a minute, you can't just come in here and tell me to say what you want me to say in my newspaper or what comes out of my mouth as far as my opinion or what's talked about on this news show, what my columnists say. You can't just come in here and say that. You can't do that. People are criticizing you, and you can't come in here and tell me to stop doing it. Get out of my face. I can't. And I think that's going to happen this year sometime. Sometime this year, some celebrity is going to say, you know what? I really don't identify as a feminist. And they're all of a sudden the bully campaign is going to begin. And then this said celebrity is going to have a press conference and say, hey, listen, you can't tell me what to think. I have my own opinions. Screw you. Or some news editor somewhere is going to say, hey, listen, we had this poll and this is what our readers think. And you want me to pull this poll? Screw you. You can't come in here and tell me to do that. You can't. I think it's going to happen this year. When there's going to be this high publicity thing, when someone's going to stand up to this bullying and say you can't do this, and then you know what we're going to see these people for the paper tigers that they actually are. They're going to stop bullying people after this, and that's really going to be like the beginning of the real end for this whole show for them, I think. Or some college professor or some college president who's going to say, hey, listen, yeah, I have a problem with what's going on my campus. What are you going to do? Okay, so I'm fired now. You're not going to shut me up. I think that's going to happen this year. But, of course, Time magazine folded as suspected. Maybe they have a board member that, is a powerful feminist or whatever. But sooner or later, somebody's going to stand up to these people and say, listen, you can't tell me what to do or say. And you can't tell my readers what to vote for. And you can't tell my columnists what to write. It's going to happen. So I think that was another huge feminist fail of 2014. And I think the last and final really big fail for feminists this year was the Rolling Stone University of Virginia rape debacle.
Oh,
this has encouraged more people to speak up against this hateful idea of rape culture than any other event. This one thing, and this was bound to happen. Another, this is the tail end of a long list of of rape accusations that occurred at universities, with the Duke University thing and the Hofstra, and there have been several others, a lot of others that haven't been covered by the press as much. But this Rolling Stone did this huge expose on this supposed expose, and then the investigation started revealing that the facts didn't fit the story, and then the whole thing just crumbled to bits. It just crumbled to bits. And now people, and it's not just the students, it's just also faculty members and people in the administration and people in the press and political pundits and commentators everywhere have now been emboldened to openly criticize this hate-filled idea of rape culture on our college campuses. People are starting people who, I'm not going to say they're starting to smell the bullshit. People who've been smelling the bullshit for years are now completely emboldened to say, look, this has just gone too far. This is total bullshit. Lives are being destroyed. People's basic constitutional rights are being violated. And this is all based on this hate-filled ideology, this hate-filled idea that rape is normal. It is not normal. We do not live in the so-called rape culture where women are being raped every day, where there's a rapist hiding behind every tree, and where every man is a potential rapist that needs to be trained not to rape. This whole thing, if one event has stopped this in its tracks, it's this event. It will never be the same for campus feminists ever again after this. So that's my feminist fails of 2014. So
Absolutely.
Do we want to do a music break before we go on to the MHRM successes of 2014?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do a music break.
Yeah, and let's encourage people to call in. We definitely want callers in. Again, our phone number is
214-272-0408.
Again, please, people call in 214-272-0408. We definitely want to hear what you have to think. The most important thing is the most important thing that happened in 2014, and give us your thoughts about the future.
Okay, here we go. Another song by Kevin MacLeod.
And we're back, and we do have a caller. Iron Johnny called in before. He had something to add to Feminist Fails of 2014, and also success for MHRM in 2014. Iron Johnny, glad to have you back. Go ahead and tell us what you wanted to add to the Feminist Fails of 2014.
Well, the one thing I've noticed again and again is that in the past, feminists have always counted on one of two things, and that is either women cooperating with them by speaking out to support them, or more importantly, women being quiet. Well, feminists went out and said, yes, the only thing we're doing is we're trying to help women. We're trying to help girls. We're trying to protect them at all costs. And then this year what I saw was the complete violation of this principle out of desperation. And this happened again and again in comment sections from articles. A woman would show up. She would begin to disagree quite rationally with what the feminists were saying. And then almost immediately, out of nowhere, some feminists would show up and attack a woman. Attack and attack and attack. And what was really surprised me is that no one seemed to get that what these feminists were doing were completely contradicting their stated purpose while doing it. And I think that this failure on the part of the feminists and everyone else, too, to recognize what was going on is something we can use in the future. Their loss can be our gain.
Oh, I agree.
Yes. So that was the failure part that I wanted to bring up.
That's a very important failure part. Very important. I mean, it really is. It's this whole like failure of the zeitgeist is coming. It's coming.
Yeah, I just think it's important for people to point that out when the feminists do attack women. To point that out and say, hey, now wait a minute. Didn't you just say a little while ago about you fighting for the equality and protection of women at all costs, and there you are attacking a woman right in front of everyone?
Yeah, it's like I said when we were talking during the music break. It's like George Orwell's doublespeak. We're all about giving women choices and all this. So shut the hell up and agree with us, bitch. That's basically what that is. And they're showing themselves to be doing that. They're demonstrating for the entire world to see that that's what they're doing. And people are catching on. People are going to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm sure it wouldn't hurt if we tried to help them notice that, you know.
Yeah, sure. Well, that's what we're here for. We've been doing it for a while now, and we're succeeding, finally.
Yeah.
I think.
And speaking of successes, the biggest success for the men's movement of this year, I don't know if you wanted me to say that now or you wanted to go ahead.
We'll let you say what you think. Everybody, Iron John is going to start off as to what on the MHRM success 2014, and he's going to tell us what he thinks is the biggest MHRM success of this past year. Go ahead and take it away, John.
I think it was the Detroit conference because not only did we hold it, but we managed to stop just about every effort that the feminists had to try and either discredit it, disrail it, or mischaracterize what was going on. I mean, every attempt they had failed, and that was I think our greatest success. We set a precedent, and it's one I hope that we're going to repeat in the coming years ahead. I mean, I don't think there's anything else we did this past year as a movement that could have been more important than the Detroit conference last summer.
I'm glad that you said that, and I'm glad that I made you not say it during the music break and give it as a surprise because that was the very first thing on my list too.
Oh, okay.
It was I hate to sound like I'm tooting AVFM's horn. Let's be real here. This was the first time that men's rights activists got together as men's rights activists and talked about men's issues, and there were, I mean, and a lot of people listening now, or who went there, who were not involved in it, aren't fully aware of the enormity of the effort to make this thing not happen. And not only that, but just, I mean, all the pitfalls just involved in organizing something. It's something that's never been done before. I mean, because let's face it, everybody who put this thing on, we're all amateurs as far as putting on conferences is concerned, and that in and of itself is an art. And to think of all, I mean, that we couldn't go on with one venue, we had to find another venue within just a couple of weeks, and we have these speakers. All this costs so much money. If people knew how much money it would cost, that it costs us. I mean, it really costs AVFM a lot of money. By the way, please consider donating to AVFM for next year's conference, because it trust me, it is well worth the money, and it does cost a lot of money to bring people in and do all this. Hopefully next year's will go a lot more smoothly. It will be much more efficient. But this year, it really was an achievement. It was something, and it forever. I think, and Warren Farrell said it best. He said that for years I said this movement was in its infancy, and he said then and there, and I think this has been proven to have been true over the past 6 months. He said now it is no longer in its infancy. Now, and it's true. Now people are talking about us, even though it's derogatory. They're talking about us. People are starting to talk about the issues that we're putting forward, even though they're trying to call it their own issues, or they're trying to misrepresent it. We're getting traction now more than ever before, and now there's no doubt. There's no stopping what we're doing. The MHRM is not going away now. You're right. Damn it. It was the biggest achievement of the MHRM in the entire year, and I know that a lot of people say, oh, those AVFM guys are just tooting their own horn. Well, you know what? We really did accomplish something very important. You may not think it's important, but I really think the time will show that it was a real event, pivotal event. James, what do you think? Are you there, James?
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Being
I mean,
there,
what do you think? Yeah, go ahead and tell us your thoughts about the conference.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was really, and John, seriously, it was a shame that you couldn't have been there, because it was everything that I expected it to be and more, and but it was so exhausting. It was really the coolest thing I had ever done in my entire life.
That's great, but the good
I was
news.
wired for days after the conference.
I was too.
I did get to watch it all on video, thanks to I guess it was James and David who put the stream together. I was very impressed with it.
Yeah, it was good. It was a lot of work, but I mean, I helped David out a lot on that too. It was really, the whole thing was kind of because we had to move to another venue, and David had made a lot of arrangements that after we had to move to another venue had gone awry, and I helped as best I could, and everything went off. Everything happened. And I think the final result was about as good as could be expected. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, the really important thing is, for years we've been getting these ridiculous accusations from the feminist camp that, well, you guys never do anything out in real life. You guys are a bunch of slacktivists and this and that and the other thing. And as a response to that, I offer the Detroit conference with the resounding, well, fuck you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, feminists, they're collectivists. You know that. They collect your money and they don't do anything with it. And then they spend the money to collect more money, and that's what they call activism. Spreading awareness. Yeah. That's their idea of activism, and it's worked for a long time now. But yeah, that's when I did the final event of the conference, when I chaired the activism, the activism thing, that was my biggest thing, was the activism panel. My biggest argument was that so many people say, both in the MHRM and in the manosphere, and of course feminists say, oh, the men's rights movement, they're a bunch of do-nothings, and that's just not true. It's just not true. There have been a lot of major, and I pointed out, of course, William Farrell, of course, Anil Kumar, who is doing now amazing things in India. Saving the Family Foundation is huge, and Carnell Smith, who actually single-handedly stopped paternity fraud in his home state of Georgia. You look at, there's a long list of winners in MHRM who really care about these particular issues, and they are serious activists, and they have very little to work with, and they've made things happen. And now that we're getting more press, and now that we're starting to gather, our resources are still meager, what we can do with the talent and the drive and the passion that we have, I think, is going to be incredible in the coming years. And I think that we're going to silence those voices that say that we're do nothings very, very quickly, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of them have already been discredited.
Yeah.
They really pulled out all the stops. Trying to mischaracterize it or sending people there to try and lead people astray in the bar after the conference. Every single thing just blew up in their face. Not literally, mind you, but it did not work.
No,
it had always worked in the past, but this was too big for them to get a handle around. They had a protest march. They called in bomb threats to the DoubleTree. That didn't work either. They really did pull out all the stops, and they still failed, and we won.
Yep. And they're going to do it this year because the consensus is that it's going to be in Washington, D.C. this year. And they're going to have a lot more resources available to them in Washington, D.C. because Washington, D.C. is a college town, and they're going to empty out the women's departments to go protest this thing. That's my prediction. And you're going to have the hardcore Washington press corps there, and you're going to have a lot of the crazies involved that trying to do whatever they can. But guess what? C-SPAN is going to be there. And they're going to have a camera. Well, I don't know if they're going to be there or not. They'd be fools if they didn't have a camera there. That's for damn sure. They would be. I can't help it. Let me put it this way. I hope that C-SPAN is going to be there. And if they are there, this is what they do. They put a camera there and they point it at the stage and they sit there and they let stuff happen. And that is a nightmare for feminists. It's one thing if we have like a video feed coming off our website, but when you have the Washington Press Corps there documenting stuff, that's when you get real exposure, and they're going to be fighting to keep that from happening. And I don't think it's going to work.
What happened to Seneca Falls? I thought that their plan was for this year to go there.
Seneca Falls. The reason it. I don't want to talk too much about that because so much of what we talk about during staff meetings is something that we just don't want because we just don't want. John, maybe you can come to a staff meeting sometime.
Okay, sure.
Put it this way, I think the thing is that I think we would just get so much more traction from coming to DC, even though it might. I think that price wise, it was kind of about the same. Again, I don't want to give up too much about the inner workings about it, and I have not been as involved in where it's going to be. Of course, it's still well over 6 months from now, but the decision to have it in DC was mostly driven because we have the DC Press Corps here. It will draw attention. There's plenty of facilities here to accommodate people, even though it's going to be pricey, a little bit pricey for people to attend. It's just going to be everything is here that we need. And I say here because this is where I live. And trust me, I was not a major lobbyist to make it happen here. I think a lot of people are saying, it makes a lot of sense to have it in DC. Mostly because of the press exposure. And I think another thing, and I think the reason why I would prefer not to have it in Seneca Falls would be because it just would mean that it was kind of like a feminist copycat type thing, or we're doing it just to have it as a poke in the eye to feminists. I think that's fine, maybe sometime in the future, but I think that now we need to focus on being more productive and having the most impact. And I think, I said this, and I think other people agree with me even before I said it. I think that the best place to do that would be here. But I'm not the final word on this. Okay, I'm not the one who made that decision. I don't want to pretend that I was. Again, I'm probably giving too much away about what the decision-making practices behind ABFM now, because I don't. It's just something I don't want to talk too much about on the air right now. But that's. I just, to be fair to you, I'll just give you some basics about why we wanted to have it in DC.
Well, that's okay. You don't need to explain it to me. I'm not on the staff at A Voice for Men, so I'm not required to know. And there are probably some people listening to us right now who shouldn't know.
You are a loyal listener. You are a loyal listener, and you asked a question, and I thought I'd give you as detailed an answer as I could in the last one, and that's what I did. So,
I appreciate it, Bob. Thank
certainly
you.
a stakeholder, as every listener is. But I hope I didn't. I hope I didn't piss off too many people by. I don't think I divulged anything too crazy. But not that there's a whole lot of people listening right now. But yeah, that's kind of the overall basics of why we decided to have it. But that might change. We might decide to have it somewhere else. We might decide to have it in Paul's backyard, because so let's not have it in Paul's backyard next year, folks. So please, again, if you're listening, think about shelling out a couple of bucks, because it was the last year's conference really put AVFM in a bad financial position, because we spent money that, and a lot, again, I'm not at liberty to say the kind of money we spent, but it, flying people in, and there were speakers fees and a lot of things. It just, you think that $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 was more than enough money. No, it's not. That disappears real quick, real quick. And there are other day-to-day expenses here at AVFM that need to be taken care of. So just sending it out there. We're looking forward to another great conference next year, and that can only happen with your help. So please consider. And we've got other things in the works about raising money too. So hopefully things will be okay, and I think they will. But that's just where we're at with the conference. Again, it's still very early. We're still in very preliminary planning stages, but we had a successful conference. Guess what? That conference, for as much of a pain in the ass as it was, and even though there were a couple people, including myself, who almost had a nervous breakdown, and it was still a blast. I just remember having a great time with so many people that I wanted to talk to for so long and wanted to meet with for so long, and I remember, talking about divulging things. I just remember just the cavorting that went on after each day. It was, you were exhausted at the end of the day, but everybody went out and had a really good time. It was kind of like a crazy, intense, I don't know. It was just such a blast. I had such a great time with Dr. Tara. I had such a great time with Jonathan. I had such a great time with James. I had such a great time with you and Jack and Anil. And everybody. It was just everything was so much fun, and so intense. And I can't wait to see everybody this year again. And John, I hope to see you at the conference sometime this year.
Well, I hope I can make it sometime.
Yeah, please, definitely. And to everybody listening, please try to make it to the conference this year, because I'm telling you, if for no other reason, it is going to be if it's anything like last year's conference, it's going to be a blast. A blast. So for real, keep it in mind. So we're going to go on to the next MRM success in 2014. And I'm not doing this in the order that I wrote it. I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. I think this was a very important one. This was the turnover of power in Maine's 7th prosecutorial district concerning with ousting of Mary Kellett and Paul Kavanaugh. This was something that many people at AVFM and other organizations, SAVE, to be fair, and even the National Coalition for Men kind of got in the fray with this. This was the fruition of years of hard work to get this particular woman out of office. And of course, I forgot to mention Integrity for Maine, who were the main driving force. I think they were the final hammer that felled the final blow. This was so important. For years, we at AVFM and in other organizations in the men's human rights movement have been targeting this one person, Mary Kellett, and she had so many people protecting her, from the DA, the Attorney General of Maine, this incredibly powerful position, to the DA's office, to the Assistant DA's office, and everybody along the line doing everything they can to stop this tide of activism and criticism directed at this one person, this one Assistant DA. And it was such a hard won fight, but we won it. And they still haven't. And someday we're going to have Brian Danielson on the show again. Someday soon, he's going to talk to us about the challenges that Matt Foster has facing him. He's the new district attorney for the 7th Prosecutorial District, and he has many. But this still was a resounding victory that really, really just, I think, rang through the halls of the men's rights movement, because so many people just chose this one prosecutor, Mary Kellett, and there are many prosecutors like her in this country, but we chose her because of what had happened to Vlad Filler and to so many other people that we haven't heard about yet. And we made an example out of her. We as a movement picked out one person and said, we're getting you out of office no matter what it takes. And we succeeded. And you know what's going to happen? Prosecutors all around this country are going to take note of what happened. And they're going to say, I don't want that to happen to me. And they're going to change their behavior. And so many people told me, well, this is just one prosecutor in one state. Blah, blah, blah. Hey, if you don't think that word gets around, you're dreaming. You're dreaming. I think some of the most important activism that AVFM did was with the Judicial Accountability Committee, the JAC Committee. We did this with a couple people in West Virginia, and there was a big case in West Virginia with an Air Force colonel. It was a terrible. His name was Kirk, and he just had a terrible. His ex-wife was just awful and abusive, and he had all kinds of documentation. They still gave her custody and all this money, all this stuff. And we went after this judge. The judge recused himself and all this and that. And that sends waves. That sends a message out to people. And also this as this Mary Kell thing did. And just recently, I kind of took on a pet journalism project with a man whose wife said that he owed her $1 million in child support for children that were now fully grown in their late 20s. And his name is Greg Patnud. And I did a couple news stories on him, and he decided that he had a extradition order served to him when he was living in Oregon, and he was running from the law. And finally one day he called me up and said, I'm gonna face this. I'm gonna go down there. I'm going to face this judge. I've got some publicity from AVFM. I want to see what happens, and I'm prepared to go to jail, and I'm prepared to become a poster boy for this movement. And I said, great, let's do this, Greg. So I interviewed him, and I wrote an article, and he went down there, and nothing happened. The hearing was canceled. It was canceled after all this. It was canceled. He was bewildered. Now, I might be wrong. But I would like to think that word is getting around that family court justices and district attorney and prosecutors can't realize now for the first time that they just can't get away with anything they want to, especially when someone from A Voice for Men is watching. I would like to think that. Now, I have no proof that this is actually what's happening, but I've never heard of any family court judge just canceling a hearing from someone they had an extradition order out on for months on a child support claim for what was $1 million, then was lowered down to $100,000, and then the whole thing was just virtually dismissed. I mean, I've never heard of that happen before. How did that happen? Could it possibly be that we have a track record of fucking people's shit up? That's why I think this whole thing with Mary Kellett was really a huge win. And a lot of people think it's kind of old news. People aren't paying attention to what's happening to it anymore. I think it was a big deal. And now James is telling me to move on. Sorry about that. I had to go on a little rant there. The next big success in 2014, I think a lot of people might think is a big reversal. from what I've been talking about was when Saturday Night Live did this skit about men's rights activists. And James, you go ahead and talk about this one.
Yeah. Lena Dunham, who's outed herself as a as an abuser, went ahead and wrote and then starred in a skit on Saturday Night Live making fun of men's rights activists. It hit a lot of major publications. And, yeah, I mean, I was fairly happy to see it up because that's proof to us that we had hit the mainstream. And go figure, millions of people who had never, ever heard of us before were all of a sudden handed on a silver platter a feminist version of us. And of course, that's a lot of people going to look us up.
Yep. You told me once that the more people talk about us, we win every time.
We win every time.
I remember like saying, telling somebody there, you know, that I jumped. People said, "Oh, Bob, I heard somebody had the MRM on Saturday Night Live. Aren't you kind of embarrassed?" I'm like, "Fuck no, I'm jumping for joy. That's awesome, because more people are going to see what's going on. More people are going to go to places like AVFM and Men's Rights Reddit, and they're going to look it up, and they're going to read, and they're going to learn. That's what happens.
Yep, absolutely.
And because it's getting late, this is a good segue into our final big success for the MHRM in 2014. Again, as far as I'm concerned, I'm sure everybody has different opinions, but I think most would agree on this. We saw for the first time the breaking of the silence in the media concerning men's rights issues. At no other time in history, I think, has there been, even though it's still derogatory, even though it's still kind of like low-level kind of B-grade media and news, I don't think there's ever been a time when more people were talking about men's issues than they are right now. And I think it's because of what we've been doing. And I think that's a great thing.
Well, polarizing the battlefield, just
That's
like
right.
what I said before. We are proving to be more and more effective on that. Even with as few outspoken individuals as what we seem to have. Men's Rights Reddit, I think, has also exploded this year.
Yeah, that was I should have said something about that. Yeah,
that's kind of a big deal.
yeah, 100,000. Yeah, 100,000 subscribers. That is a big deal.
So yeah, sure as hell beats out a lot of these other social justice warrior.
Oh yeah, and since I had that interview, they've already added another 3,000 subscribers. That was
Go figure. And I see them doing nothing but adding more as time goes by. That's a great place to get some aggregate news and opinion pieces. If
that's where I
want to take a look at that, I look at that every day. I go there and take a look. It's first stop AVFM, next stop Men's Rights Reddit.
Yep.
So go figure. Well, folks, I think we've just about hit the end of our show here.
Is John still with us?
No, he's not.
Darn, I was going to ask him about the final piece of advice that he wanted to give to our audience. Why don't you go ahead and give the final piece of advice to our audience, James?
Okay. Everyone, Happy New Year. And take the red pill.